Welcome. My name is Maria Kompanowski from Dolphin Global Network. I would like to introduce you to Gill Edwards, who is a life coach, and Gill is going to tell us about her story, her background and her story, how she became a coach. Gill, over to you.
Hi there, my name's Gill Edwards and I am what's known as a mind, body and health warrior.
That's a very nice name. Brilliant.
Yes. Anyway, what it actually means is I deal with stress management. Any stresses that you've got, anything to do with your life, to do with your work, people that you work with, any conflict resolution you need, diet and exercise, anything that's stressing you out actually. There are certain things that you can do to either not get you there in the first place, or I can help you to get through and get to the other side and start forming a plan of how to move forward. Yes,
so tell us what has happened in your life that you decided to change and become a coach.
Right, well, I was a nurse for 33 years. I worked at the local hospital. I was a clinical nurse specialist for the last 16 years in respiratory medicine. I'd also worked on intensive care and on a gynaecology ward. When I was working on the intensive care unit, I absolutely loved it. I loved the cut and thrust of it. I really enjoyed it. But there came a time when I'd been there a few years that I walked onto the ward one day and I just looked around. There was a man who jumped off a train. There was a man trying to pull all his arterial lines out, so there was blood spurting everywhere. There was a teenager who'd come in. There was somebody who'd had a heart operation who wasn't doing very well, and I just looked around and I thought, I just stopped in the middle of the unit and I said, I can't do this anymore. And I'd loved it, I'd really loved it. But I just came to a full stop. I didn't feel anything, I just felt completely numb. I didn't have any emotions, and I just went to the person in charge of the unit and said, can you go and get some help to take over from me, because I'm going home and I'm never coming back. And obviously she laughed, she thought I was kidding. And I said, I'm not kidding, I'm going and I'm not coming back again. Now, I'd worked on intensive care for 10 years, never come to this point ever before in my life. She got somebody to come and take over from me. I went home and I was washing the dishes and I thought, there's something not quite right here. I think you better go to the doctors. Still no emotion, I still felt completely numb. So the next morning I had an appointment at the doctors and she just said to me, what can I help you with? And I just went, whoa, and blurted it all out. And as it turned out, it wasn't just working on intensive care that was the problem. I was working shifts. My mother-in-law had had a stroke. She'd also had a leg off. My dad was ill, seriously ill. I was doing my degree. I was doing the educational programme for the unit. I had no time at all, working shifts and everything as well, doing overtime because people were off sick. And I think my body just went, that's it, enough.
So basically the stress has created the crack in your body, in your being, in your mind.
Yes, exactly. I didn't realise this at the time. I didn't even think about it at the time. I just knew that I wasn't right. So obviously the doctor put me on to antidepressants. And even though I like homeopathy and stuff like that, I would never say to anybody, don't use antidepressants, because they helped me, they lifted my mood just enough for me to be able to cope and to be able to say to myself, look, there's only you can get yourself out of this, nobody else can do it for you. I'd lost all my confidence, I didn't know what to do, I was having panic attacks, but I knew I needed to get myself out of this. Now, had I not had these the antidepressants, I probably wouldn't have been able to see that. I wouldn't have still be in that black hole.
So what was the moment, having all that, what was the moment that you said, okay, I am changing my life and I am becoming a coach? When does that decision to become a coach came?
Right. Excuse me. I happened to be sitting reading a magazine one day. I'd been off work for about 3 months at this point, and I started looking at health magazines and things like that, and I just happened to notice an advert, and it was for a confidence course. It was being done down in London over a weekend, and it looked really good, and it was a lady called Dawn Bresley, a Scottish lady who's is brilliant, basically. And I really wanted to go on it, but there's no way I could have gone down to London on my own because of the panic attacks I was having. I couldn't go anywhere on my own. And luckily for me, my husband said, if it's what you want to do, I'll come with you, we'll go down, and I'll just do my own thing, and you do what you need to do. So that's exactly what I did. And that whole weekend completely changed my life.
So would you say that your husband has played one of a bigger part
Massive.
in your change of career and decision making?
Yes, massive.
Brilliant.
He's always supported me in whatever I wanted to do, and because I've been so ill, he obviously wanted to help me as much as he could.
Yeah.
And just being with me, you know, for the weekend down in London, he knew it was going to make a difference, and he thought that if I needed to do that, then he was going to support me all the way. So
Brilliant.
that's what happened.
So you went to London, you've taken that course, and what has changed?
I did the course, and with life coaching, a lot of the things you know in the back of your mind what you should be doing, or not should be doing, but what would help. But you don't bring them forward. They're in your subconscious, but you don't bring them forward.
Yeah.
And during this weekend on this coaching, a lot of the things that she said, I knew, but the way she brought it about, the way she talked about things, was completely turned everything upside down and brought everything forward for me to be able to go. It was a light bulb moment. And I thought, I really want to do this. You know, it's made such a difference to how I'm feeling. I'd dealt with, you know, critically ill people for such a long time. I just wanted to have a change instead of being with critically ill people, which I consider, to be perfectly honest, I also consider that what I was doing, I was also suffering from PTSD.
All right. Could you explain to the lay person what it is?
PTSD is the trauma that you get when some unknown and things that you're not used to, and some horrible things happen. You know, such as, you know, the soldiers get it when they've been
So basically, we're talking
like that.
about traumas, different
We're
type of
talking about
traumas.
lots of traumas, different kinds of trauma. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, whether you were mistreated as a child or whatever it is. You know, you don't realise it that you're in it. But I think now, looking back, I think I did have some form of PTSD due to all the nursing horrors that I saw, basically. So yes.
But you are not really sure whether it was PSD because you didn't have it diagnosed, did you?
No.
Right.
Well, I'm thinking those days you just got on with your job. It was just a job, and you got on with it. But when I think about it, the first time I saw a person, I had to lay a person out because they died, I cried. The second time, I cried. The third time, I cried. The fourth time, I didn't cry. I was starting to get used to it. The fifth time, and then you're talking to the patient, and you know, even though they are dead and things like that, and you just completely change, and it becomes like the norm.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of PTSD sufferers, that's what happens, and it's only when something sparks it off that they realise that, you know, there's something wrong there.
Funny, you should mention that just a few days ago, I was reading an article about someone who turned coach, and in order to change someone's perception and way of thinking, they decided to take them to the place where they have the bodies in the fridge. What is it called?
The mortuary.
The mortuary, and they had taken every drawer out for the coaching candidate to have a look, and then they had to describe the reaction and so on, and that changed the perception, the personality, and everything that had to change at that moment in time. But would you say everyone could actually stand such a situation?
Yeah, I honestly think that it could happen to anybody with anything that's out of the ordinary, that's not very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember sitting with an 83-year-old chap waiting to go to theatre, and he got a big carving knife which he pushed in himself because his wife had died, he didn't want to live anymore, and he pushed his carving knife in very, very slowly, and as it happened, because he pushed in so slowly, he pushed away all the major organs and vessels. Now that must have absolutely, really hurt him going in. But he didn't want to live any longer, and he just sat there, he wouldn't talk, he'd just say yes and no answers.
So how would you help that person? How do you think that person could have been helped? Is there a way that people who are going through such a trauma of losing somebody can be helped?
I think with things like trauma like that, they definitely need counselling. But obviously a lot of people don't think they need it, especially the elderly. They're very lonely. I mean, that was the reason, I think. He lived on his own, he got no children, he got no grandchildren. So he was totally living on his own, and his wife had died. I think if they just got somebody there, going in, talking to them, and it's the same with a lot of elderly people, really. I think that makes a difference.
So Gill, you are now a fully fledged coach, helping others, and as I understand, you're helping mostly people who came through similar experiences as yourself. And you have actually not just changed your life, but I think from the story that I know about you, you have turned your life upside down altogether, because your activity as a coach and your activity in sort of physical activity that you are involved with is amazing. So could you tell us a little bit about your coaching, who you are really helping, who would be your creme de la creme client, okay, and how you are able to help somebody who has a depression, or maybe basically if you can describe the areas that you are working in, and if you can give us an example how you have helped somebody.
The first thing I'd like to say is I'm not a counsellor, I am a coach. So basically, I don't go back looking at old traumas as such. Obviously there's going to be some things, the reasons that they are where they are is because of things that have happened in the past. But I concentrate more on, okay, that's happened, let's go from now, where are we going to go forward from here? I like to deal with health issues, so to do with what the diet's like, what exactly are they eating? Are they eating rubbish? Is that making them feel worse? So actually looking at them as a whole person, what are they thinking? What are the thoughts? What have they done so far? Do they have any ailments? Because that's a biggie. Some people, they're on different medications for different things. I like to help with that. But anybody who has got any stresses or stressors in their life that they're struggling with, or they think they're coping with, but at the back of the mind they know they're not, then I love to help.
And how about your activity, physical activity? I believe you are going to Qigong classes, and you are also, is it yellow belt or you have gone
Green
back?
belt,
Green
karate.
belt karate.
Wait,
So
wait, Shiru karate.
fantastic. How does this physical activity help you to be stronger and to build your life as a coach?
Well, I consider both the karate and the qigong. The karate is what they call, should I say, let's call it the yang.
Okay.
Okay, it's physical activity. It's a lot of physical activity, and you're absolutely shattered at the end of it. I only started doing it from February, and I never thought in a million years that at 63 years old I would be starting to do karate, and I absolutely love it.
Brilliant.
The qigong, we could say, is the yin. So the karate is the exercise, so you are getting rid of energy, you're pushing energy out, and you're also getting rid of your oxygen because you're breathing harder.
Yeah.
With the qigong, you are getting the energy in and also getting more oxygen, so you're replacing all the oxygen that you've just got out with the,
Yeah.
So both the yin and the yang help.
Brilliant.
So any, fast activity, or, I mean, I used to run, I used to be a long distance runner years ago. So any activity at all, though, it doesn't matter what it is. Walking is brilliant, so
Yes.
any activity. And for me, they're both forms of meditation,
Fantastic.
because they completely take you out of your day, your daily grind.
And just to wrap up, Jill, do you do any workshops?
I haven't been at the minute, but I'm hoping to start doing some quite soon.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. It was great
You're welcome.
talking to you. We will put Jill's contact details below this video, so please have a look and contact Jill for if you have any questions, and we look forward to actually seeing you taking advantage of Jill's advice and Jill's help. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.